All right, Mandy, take it away.
Hello, you guys. I'm really excited. It's freezing here. I'm in a caravan park. Anyways, I hadn't been doing to be completely honest, I hadn't been doing personal development for like a few weeks because I'd just been driving and things had been going wrong with my van. If you guys follow me at all, you would have seen that. But the times when things are really hard is when I feel like we most need personal development, is when we don't want to do it. And I know that everybody is different. And so for me, I love reading books. Sometimes when I need to kick up the ass, I go to Tony Robbins on YouTube. I take walks. You got to kind of find whatever works for you. But I have taken a couple dot points. So I'm kind of just going to fly off of them. Journaling prompts. I hadn't journaled, to be honest, in probably like a year. So when I hit Diamond last year, I kind of compared myself to everyone, and it freaked me out because my goal for ever since I started this business was to go diamond, and I'd hit it, and I hadn't set goals from them, which is kind of something else I'm going to talk about with goal setting. But I'd got to diamond and I was like, well, what do I do now? And so I tried to take it back to basics of just writing down in a gratitude journal. I got really uncomfortable with the fact that I was stuck in my house. I didn't want to be in my house. I only wanted a 6-month lease, and they made me sign a 12-month lease. And so going to bed every night, I was just writing down 10 things that I was thankful for. I was thankful that I even had a home, because I don't know what it's like anywhere else in the world right now, but it's crazy to try and get a rental at the moment in the whole of Australia. I know that there was something like 400 people a day applying for 30 houses that are available. So it's a wild time. So I was grateful for the fact that I had a house. I was grateful for the fact that, I was able to replace my income. When I lost my job, this was my full-time income. So I was just trying to remind myself that all of the things that I have in my life, that when you look back a year ago, you probably dreamed of the things that you have now. So I don't know how I got it, but I'm in Cheyenne Knox's boards. And so I just took what I could from that and put it into my team's boards. And obviously it's we have different products in Australia and different prices and all of that kind of thing. But one of the things she shared in there was a whole thing about personal development and journaling prompts. And so I have done this before, and I probably haven't done it for probably a year, but I wrote down what my dream life would be if there was no money, no time, no other person in my way. What would my dream life look like? And that's obviously going to look different for every single one of us. But one of the journaling prompts that I only did the other day was write down where you want to be in 5 years' time in detail. And I promised you that if you go and do that, and it will make you excited. If you do that and you come back to me and you tell me it doesn't make you excited, you obviously did it all wrong. Okay. Because it made me so excited. I was like, I'm going to own 5 properties in the state that I'm in. I'll be married. I'm going to be the first Australian ambassador. And I dreamed all of these things out. And it just, especially in times when we feel low, I think just getting a pen and paper and writing down what your dream life is, or where you want to be in 5 years or in a year's time, it just really helps you dream again. And it also encourages you with your posts as well. You can't tell me that you don't want to tell the whole world when you write everything down and you're like, this is where I'm going to be in 5 years. And that kind of helps you with posting. I know I have a lot of new girls on my team, and people, or even myself, and people that have been in for a long time kind of think, oh, I don't know what to post anymore. I feel like I'm repeating myself, all of that kind of thing. But if you dream and goal set and things like that, it's going to encourage you to shout out on your page, because people are going to follow you if you've got that. What's that word? That's saying the pace of the pack or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But if you shout that out on your social media, people are going to be drawn to that. I get messages all the time from people saying, wow, to see where you were a year ago to now, and you're always on here and you're always positive. And I don't make my page anything that that my life is not. If I'm going through a bad day, I'm going to share that I'm having a bad day, but that I'm a human. This morning I was talking to somebody about the business, and she's like, oh yeah, it's network marketing. I've done Sensi before. And I said, cool. And I explained what this was. And then she turned around and I said, I'm the number 1 in Australia. And I don't know if I can we mute? No, I'm muted. She said to me, I said, I was able to, this replaced my income. I was able to go debt free by the time I was 30. or not even 30. And she said, well, you're lucky. And I was like, I am not lucky. And it made me like, it inspired me to write that post. I took a picture the other day when I was down the beach and I was like, I'm not lucky. I refuse to settle. And so that's kind of what you need to think about. Like I tell my team, I know that it's different, but you guys have like government assistance or whatever. I've said to my team before, imagine if you had no spouse, no family to help you, no government to help. And I know that you guys don't get a whole lot of help over there, whereas in Australia, the government help people a lot and people get a lot of money from the government when they don't work. And it's crazy, but I've had to say to people, like, think about it. If this was your only option, like how hard would you work? You'd be like, oh, come hell or high water, I need to feed my babies and pay my rent or my mortgage or whatever. The other thing was like, I have my dream life. I kind of, hang on, let me get rid of all of these notifications, but my goal is to make $10,000 a month. I have it written on the rearview mirror of my van. I created this on Instagram. I don't know if you can see it. So that every time that I go on my phone, I'm like, well, what am I doing? Is what I'm about to do on my phone going to help me make $10,000 a month? And I think we get confused and think sometimes that we have to spend 18 hours a day on our phone to be able to go diamond or ambassador. And that's not the case at all. But just having that in front of you to see it all the time. I don't live in a house. I used to have my goals, like my monthly goals and stuff, and a dream board in my office. Now I'm in a van, so I have to get kind of creative. And so I've stuck heaps of stuff all over the walls of the van. But having that right in front of you and knowing exactly what you want. I'm actually going to say something that I don't know that anyone else is going to talk about, but this was something that I did with my team and it helped them a lot. And it's literally setting a budget, writing out exactly what all your expenses are every week, like by week, every month, that you know that you have to pay. So you know exactly what you need to make. Because if you get in a car and you don't have any destination of where you're going, you're just going to drive around and around and around in circles and end up back home again. And it's exactly the same with this business. If all you say is you need extra money, well, why? How much do you need? What do you need it to pay for? If you have that set right out in front of you, it's going to make you know exactly what you have to work for. So, you might only need like $200, and that doesn't mean you can't go diamond and make $2,000 a month, but what is that going to pay for? So I wrote down my dream life in detail of what I do every day. And then I wrote my dream life of like all of my expenses. Getting like, and this is obviously going to be different for everyone as well, like getting my hair done and my nails done and being able to give back in big ways and buy properties and do all of this stuff. And for me, I worked it out to be about $8,500. And that doesn't mean that I can't, go and make that $10,000, but the universe will kind of like, I think April said this before, but the universe will kind of react to you. If you say you want $8,500, like if you say you want $2,000, you'll get $2,000. If you say you want $10,000, you're going to get $10,000, but you've got to kind of show up for what it is. And then, the other thing I was going to say as well was about like books and Audible. So I listen to books and podcasts and stuff like that when I am driving, and I obviously drive a fair bit. And then I read as well. So I'm reading 2 books at the moment. One is The Game of Life and How to Play It. And I'm not Christian, but it's very like they talk a lot about things from the Bible, I think, in there, but it's still really easy to relate to. And I understand what she's saying a lot. She's basically just saying like what you talk about is what you're going to get. And I think that sometimes we forget about that. It's like, and I think that I've just in-tuned myself now, but sometimes, and especially newbies, it's not like that. You're so used to the negative mindset that you have to train yourself in this new way. But if you put out bad stuff, bad things are going to happen. It's something she says in that book is that someone was speaking ill over someone, and then they ended up continuously getting sick. And I know for me, like I used to, before this business, you guys, I was in and out of hospital all the time. I was always sick, always breaking a bone, getting stitches, like all of this stuff. And I swear to you that ever since I left the guy that I was with when I started this business and moved away, I've been to the hospital like once. I don't get sick anymore because I got myself out of that, away from the toxic people and stuff like that. So that was kind of all I had. I got my notebook ready for you, Chelsea.
All right. Am I good to just take over, Tanya? I'm guessing. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So first of all, I gotta say, I'm super proud of Mandy. She is like my bestie from Australia. We went on this entire journey pretty much together, and it's really crazy because both of our enrollers quit. So I'm gonna actually start out before I actually joined this business because I feel like it's really, really important to hear like kind of where people started at to where they're at right now, especially because we've got three different stories, three different mindsets when we first started, three different mindsets now. We're all growing just in different levels, you know, all the time. And the great thing is we get to talk to each other all the time. Guys, if you feel like you're alone in this business, whether your enrollers here or not here, just know you have sideline that are there for you. And we're all one team, one mission. We all help each other out. We all love each other like family, and, you know, just are able to feed into each other. And that's what I love about this. So I'm going to start way back before I got started. I don't know if you guys all have heard my story before, but I'm going to say it for the people who haven't heard it yet. So before I started in this business, this was about 4 years ago, actually, almost 4 years ago in November. It'll be my fourth year in this company. And I was a mom of one. I was working 80 hours a week in the medical field. One job I was traveling like forever away. One job I was working at, you know, right up the road. I think Manny's still spotlighted, Tanya. All I can see is her face up there. That's all right.
I didn't spotlight anybody
Oh, okay.
this time, but maybe she spotlighted.
All I could see was Manny's face. I'm like, I'm talking to you, girl.
Yeah, no, she's not spotlighted. I don't know. On
Okay,
my end, I don't see her.
Okay. All right. Thank you, girl. Okay. So anyways, I was working 80 hours a week at two different jobs. I was traveling for one, and the other one was up the road, but I was never able to see my daughter. She was 3 years old at the time, and it led me down a really dark path. And I was already going through postpartum depression. If I have any postpartum depression moms out there who people have gone through something similar to that, drop a 1 in the comments, because I know I'm not alone. And I never used to think that. I literally, when I came in, I thought I was the only one who had ever been through any type of mental illness. And it's crazy because I surrounded myself with other people who are in the same exact position. And so, of course, the power of the 5 that you surround yourself with, if you are, struggling in your mindset, and, you know, that chances are most people around you are too. And we all kind of, flock together. And so, just like I think Tanya said in one of our Zoom calls, birds of a feather flock together. That's very similar to what was going on in my life. I was following people their life was going down the drain. And so naturally there was 4 of them, and I was the 5th the entire time. And so I was diagnosed with postpartum depression at the age of 23, anxiety, PTSD, and depression from all these things that were going on in my life. And a lot of it I didn't even realize was my mindset. It was really crazy. Now, I'm not saying that everybody, it's the same exact case, but, there's a lot that had happened up in my life up until then. And it led me down that road to believe that I was just broken. So naturally, when I came in, just like a lot of other girls who come in, they think that they're broken. And I felt like life was always going to be like that. When I started in this business, I actually sat for 6 months thinking that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't pretty enough, that I wasn't smart enough, that I couldn't go live like her. So how am I supposed to do it? Right. And I compared myself just like Mandy did. And it was like a broken mindset. Like, well, she is this person. I'm never going to be her. I'm never going to be like her. And so it actually stopped me from moving forward in my business for the first 6 months. And I did nothing until I actually had a conversation with Mandy. I was like 5 months in, and I saw Mandy promoted to Ruby, and I reached out to her. And guys, like, I had no idea who she was. She's from Australia. I'm from Maine in the US. And so we would have never crossed paths if it wasn't for this business. But I saw her, and I saw her fire, and that just spread. And I just was like, I want to be like her. I want to do the things that she's doing. I want the excitement in my life like she is, right? And I had no idea what her story was. So it's really crazy that, I met her, and then we started talking about the business in general, and nobody had taught me personal development, but I had a conversation with Mandy, and that was literally all that it took for me to pick up a book and listen to a podcast and like really start learning why I was in the position that I was in. And I remember she caught wind of a movie on Netflix called The Secret. Guys, if you have not watched this, go watch it. Like, it's right on Netflix. It's free. If you have Netflix, you don't have to buy it or anything. Go watch it. It talks a lot about how we call ourselves, like we call out what our life is going to be like, whether we think we are or we think that we don't. And that was one of the biggest transformations in my mindset. And 6 months into this business, I actually started working because I actually started realizing that I was capable. And it was because I watched that movie. And there's another one on there that we watched together. Actually, it was called it's Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru. That was really what set things up for me. And Mandy's shaking her head like, yeah, I remember that, right? You remember that? It was crazy how like it was like a light bulb that went off in my head. And every single book and every single podcast I've listened to since then, it's been like a new light bulb going off in my head. And now 4 years later, I'm working on another promotion. We're working on these huge bonuses I'm super excited about. And I never would have been here if I wouldn't have started growing my mind right from the start. And it's crazy because I've enrolled so many distributors. And one of the number one things that takes them out is them not growing your mindset, right? If you don't start right from the beginning, you give yourself 6 months, literally, you'll be out. So it's so important to feed your mindset. It's so important because even if you started in a better mindset than I was, you still are going to start feeling those doubts, those fears, those comparisons that we all feel. We've all gone through those same exact things. We've all gone down that road. And what sets people apart from, people who quit their first 6 months to people who are still going 4 years later and are going strong, and keep picking themselves back up, are those people who are actually doing personal development every single day and feeding into their mind. And even if they're on the road, or even if they are, holding their baby 24/7 because, baby's colicky or whatever, they're still finding time to just listen to an audiobook or listen to a podcast or journal for a couple of minutes, right? It takes 2 seconds to sit down and write a sentence in a journal, right? It takes 2 seconds to sit down and read 1 page in your book, right? And you're going to learn something every single time. So no matter if you have an hour to do it or you have 5 minutes to do it, just do it. Just start. Right. So I have a few things that I just wanted to go over. I have 3 little bullet points that I wanted to just share with you guys. Just things I've learned along the past 4 years that I think maybe might speak to someone that's on this Zoom call right now. So number 1, your income will never surpass your mindset. So if you're struggling to get to that next level, or if you're sitting there thinking about these big bonuses that are coming out, I'm not going to, talk about numbers and everything, but if you're thinking like, I really badly want this, but you're feeling like you're not going anywhere and you're feeling like, is it really going to happen? Just know that your mindset could be a really big part in why you have not gone for it yet, or why you have not pushed for it yet. And so I don't know if you guys have ever heard that saying, but you'll see it in so many books. I've read it in at least 5 books now, that exact verbiage and everything, that you need to grow your mindset to change your entire life. So making sure that you're leveling that up, because you can't be at a ruby mindset and make a diamond pay, if that makes sense. So you always want to make sure that you're leveling your mindset up for that, and not just your self-worth and your confidence and all the things, right? You also need to take care of your money mindset, because a lot of us come from those mindsets where our parents were not the wealthiest, if you look at my mindset, we grew up in a trailer, it wasn't in the greatest of shape. There was holes in the floors, holes in the walls. We were struggling to buy food. My dad got the light shut off almost every single week. It was a struggle when we were growing up. So I came from that lifestyle, of, them kind of not taking care of what was most important and taking us on trips to like New Hampshire and like going to the beach and stuff like that, and having more of that pay for the bills later type of mindset. So think about where you came from, and you might have been born into that money mindset or been born into that situation, but you don't have to stay there. And your mindset and growing your mindset is what's going to fix that for you. So number 2, you actually attract things into your life that you put out. So one thing that I've learned, that my self-talk to my, like, what I say to myself is what I'm going to become. So if I'm constantly looking at myself and saying like, well, you're a POS, like, what makes you think that you can do that? You know, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, wow, you look gross. Like, come on, you know, like when we say things like that, it actually makes it so that we consistently feel that over and over and over again. And we put it out there, and we start thinking that everybody else is thinking the same thing about us. Right. And the more we grow our mindset around, or the more that we grow, the more we start realizing that when you say certain things to yourself, if you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm excited, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am a strong leader, you start to slowly become that. And every single book that I've read has really led up to me realizing that I'm setting myself up for either success every day or failure every day. What am I saying to myself bright and early in the morning? And I know a lot of, like my team specifically, we have things written all over our house. And so like, I have it written on my bathroom mirror. I have stuff written on my whiteboard in my kitchen. I have stuff written on my dream board in my kitchen. Like everywhere that I'm walking in my house, I have things and these affirmations that I'm saying to myself every single day. And even if I'm not saying it out loud, I'm still reading it and I'm seeing it all over the place. So I'm consistently being reminded of who I want to be ultimately. And we get to decide that. That's not something that other people decide for us. So that was number 2. Number 3 is, there's levels of yourself. It's like, we're all like onions. We have these just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And every single time that we peel back another layer, we start to realize how much more simplified our life really is. And like, you feel me on that, right? Like, we start to realize that, you know, well, it's not as complicated as we've made it. And it's actually really beautiful. Like, it's really crazy how I ended up like this, right? Because there's so many different layers. And the crazy part is something that I really realized was, if you're on a level 2, okay, like let's just say you're climbing the levels of yourself. Like I'm climbing the levels of Chelsea, and I read a book. And I go from level 0 to level 1 because I read that book and I invested in myself. Now, some people go up slower than others. You might be super broken like I was, and you go up a little bit slower, or you might, climb. Like, I get it. I'm getting it. And then you might get knocked back down and then have to get back up. You know what I mean? But you're consistently climbing those layers of yourself. Now, if you're on a layer 1, there is no way you're going to attract someone who is a level 10 mindset into your business. So if you're sitting around thinking to yourself, well, why am I not finding anybody who wants to work, right? Especially right now with these bonuses, we got to find some workers, guys. Like, we got to find some women who really, really want it. We got to find some people who are really, really excited about where they're going, right? Or who are at least willing to grow. If you are not growing, have fun attracting other people who are growing. You're not going to. You have to be willing to grow yourself so that you can attract those people on that higher level. I think about this. I've got some really good runners on my team. I've got some best friends, these girls who literally, they're like my ride or dies. They've been here with me since like the first year that I started this business. And they're just like me. Our personalities they click, they mesh, they get me, I get them. We talk, we're there for each other through thick and thin. Like, it's a bond that you can't break. Okay. I think about this. If only they knew me before I got started, they would have never signed with that Chelsea ever. They would have looked the other way and said, man, she's a real piece of work. They would have never, ever even looked twice at me. So I had to grow to get those ladies to turn my way, right? I had to make sure that I was being 100% authentically myself. I had to put out there who I really wanted to be. And I had to keep growing to that next level and next level and next level. So I want you guys to take away from basically what I'm saying is, if you want the next level type of people, you have to be willing to grow to that next level. You have to be willing to throw out that old you, and you have to be willing to take on that new you. And that's hard sometimes. That can make you cry. That can make you get upset. That can make you really nervous. That can make you a panicking mess. Guys, you should have seen me when I first started this business and started personal development. Woo! I cried nonstop. That Chelsea did not want to leave my freaking house. She was like, I'm hanging on for dear life. I just love you so much. And I just want to stay right here and hate you for the rest of my freaking life. Okay. I didn't want her anymore. I wanted her gone. I wanted to be me. I wanted to be myself. I wanted to get rid and shed all the judgment. I wanted to shed all the hard times. I wanted to shed, all the things that had happened in my life. I wanted to really, really know what it felt like to know that life was happening for me and not to me. I wanted to really know that. And so I had to get rid of her, and I had to bring on the new so that I could attract those people who were just like me. Right. So I hope you guys get something from that. I did want to show you guys a few books that really, really started shaping who I am right now. And I'm sure there's going to be 5 million more to come, but just a little snippet. If you guys want to take screenshots of these, you're more than welcome to. I've got them physically in my hands. Okay. So the first one that really shaped my mindset was this one. It's called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. If you have not read this, you need to, especially if you feel like you never have money. There's a reason behind it. And it's bigger than you know. Okay. So that's a really, really good one. Another one I read early on in my business, Relational Intelligence. This is a really, really good one. I'll put it up there for you guys. It's a really, really good one. And it talks a lot about how we see people and how they see us, and, how to really understand why people do the things that they do. So I really like that one. And this was like one of my biggest ones that really changed everything for me. I recommend this to all my new distributors. This actually starts out almost like a children's book. So it sucks you in, and then it ends talking more about like faith, and it's more of like a Christian type of ending book, which I feel like a lot of them are anyways. And then The 5 Layers of Leadership. This was a really, really good one. This really made me realize that I needed to grow. I needed to peel back more of the onion. Tanya's got it too. Hey, girl, hey. This, I'm telling you guys right now, if you want to grow in your leadership and you want to know who you are or who you need to be as a leader, you need to read this book. And then right now, currently, I'm reading Pam Sauter's book, and I'm really excited about it. So I'll tell you guys that on the next time that we talk about personal development and stuff like that. So if you want to take it away, Tanya, go for it, girl.
So I was hoping one of y'all was going to say something about the Millionaire Mind, because Mandy talked about it without like saying the title. I don't know if you actually read the book or not, but you talked about some of the principles in it. And then Chelsea was talking about it. I was like, one of y'all better like bring up the actual name so these people know where you got this stuff from. They need to go read the book. It's one that I listened to. And then whenever this last conference was, so what, like 6 months ago, Savannah was at my house and she was reading the hard copy. So now I'm like, well, I need to get the hard copy, but I have a rule to where I can't buy new books until I've read the last set that I bought. And I had literally just ordered like 12 books because I use thriftbooks.com and I order them all in bulk because it's cheaper and you save on shipping. So that's on for my next like set of actual books to buy. It's like crap. Like I told myself, speaking of being smart with money, like I'm going to read the books before I buy the new books, because otherwise I'll just buy. And then like they sit on my shelf and I don't actually read them. And then my husband's like, why do you have like $500 worth of books in there? And I don't ever see you read a book. Mind your business, boy. Like, I don't know. Why is the Amazon guy here every day? I don't know. What the? Okay. Sorry. Someone apparently trying to call me. I don't know. Everyone that knows me knows, like, don't call me. Just text message me. Like, I don't know why you're trying to pick up the phone. Like, I don't do that. But yeah, it's funny because you started talking about the different like levels, and I was like, I wonder if she's read this. This is one I'm talking about tonight, actually. I just, you probably have already passed this part of the book because it's like in the middle of the beginning, I guess, where it talks about asking your team Let me unspotlight you because I did spotlight you since you said that you couldn't see. So apparently now you can't see me. There we go. But it talks about your organization or your employees or however he words it, but asking them how you are as a leader. So, you know, those documents that we use for the influencer applications? I took one of those, made up like a anonymous sheet to basically rate me as a leader and like give me feedback. Sent that to every single person on my team. Like several dozen of y'all filled it out. And as much as it was eye-opening, and I knew it would be, like, no one ever wants to get criticism. That's not fun. And I knew I wanted it anonymously, one, because I wouldn't take it personal. But two, like, if you put your name on it, you're probably not going to give honest feedback because you're going to be afraid of hurting someone's feelings. Or if you don't know me, you're going to be like, this girl about to, like, try to ruin my business because I'm going to be mean to her, like, whatever. And I will say I was pleasantly surprised in a lot of areas. And the one big area that I knew I needed to work on was the area that everyone kind of pointed out. And I was like, okay, like I already knew that and I've been working on it. So I can't be mad about something that I know is a fault of mine that I'm, you know, trying to focus on. And for me, that's relationship building. Y'all already know I'm a red. That's not my strong suit. So the questions of like talking about, does she take interest in my personal life? And you know, am I a valued member of like able to like put my hopes and dreams out there? Some of those, the answers were a little lower than I thought they were. But part of what I want to talk on in here when it comes to personal development is staying plugged in. Because some of y'all told me like, oh, I just filled it out. So I knew which one was yours, which was not the point of the thing. But I know just from, again, I was pretty good at like, it was pretty easy to figure like which one belonged to who. Almost all the ones that the score was lower were the ones that don't ever show up to the work Zooms. And I'm not putting blame on anybody, but part of feeling valued and being a valued member of the team is getting on the work Zoom so we can actually talk face to face. Because this is an online job, you're not going to feel connected to your leaders. You're not going to feel connected to your teammates if you don't ever get on any of the Zooms. I know we do Zooms 3 times a day, y'all. Literally morning, afternoon, and evening, 5 days a week. I know Mandy does Zooms, I think, several times a week. Chelsea does Zooms several times a week. So if you feel like you're not, and again, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are on the Zoom. But if you're watching the replay and you feel like you're not connected to whoever your upline is, and you're kind of getting salty of like, oh, well, she never asked me about my day or she never reaches out. Ask yourself, when's the last time you hopped on a Zoom with that person? And by the way, if you have an issue with your leader, it's a lot easier to discuss it with them if you feel like you're connected to them. It's just like, if you have a best friend and you have an issue with them, it's not that hard to like, hey, you know, can we have a conversation and have that difficult conversation? If it's someone that you don't hardly ever talk to, you just kind of ride them out of your life instead. If that person is your leader in the business and you've not ever taken any steps to get connected with them, and then an issue comes up, because inevitably they're going to, guys, like we each have several hundred people on our team. We're not going to vibe with every single one of you, I promise. There are going to be times we offend you. There's going to be something that we say, especially Chelsea and I, since we are red, sometimes I know I do. I'm assuming that Chelsea does. We speak and then we're like, that probably was a little harsher than I needed to say it. And it happens. I think Mandy's probably nicer than we are, but I'm sure Mandy probably has put her foot in her mouth too. We have no problem if you come and, you know, like, hey, I felt like this was attacking me or aimed towards me. And I guarantee it wasn't. Like I tell people all the time, I'm never thinking of any specific person when I'm delivering whatever I'm delivering. If you feel like it was directed toward you, it's because God's pointing it out to you, not me. Like, and it's not a bad thing. Like, again, just like when I put out that survey, like, hey, give me criticism. Growing pains sucks sometimes, but the first, Mandy's blunt. She's blunt with us. I don't know how blunt she is with like new teammates and stuff. I don't know. She seems to be a little nicer, a little bit more think before you speak sometimes than I am, but maybe not. Don't let her pretty smile fool you. That could be true. But anyways, I didn't even mean to talk about that on here first, but make sure you're staying plugged in. That's a huge part of mindset, is when you feel like you're disconnected, you're going to feel like no one's rooting for you. And your feelings, I'm not going to say they're not valid. They're just usually not honest. Feelings are something that we can manipulate in our own minds to make them appear like however they are. We read into things a little bit more than we should, especially as women. And again, I'm not being sexist. I just know my husband is way better at this than I am. Sometimes I will hear something through my own lens of insecurity instead of what the person actually meant by it. And then in my mind, I'm pissed because that person just said such and such. And my husband's like, she didn't even say that, Tanya. Like, she literally wasn't even talking to him. Like, no, she was. Like, I'm gonna punch her. Like, in my mind, that's what she said. So sometimes I think as we're leading a team and we have a lot of people, sometimes things will come across that are not meant how they come across, maybe, or maybe how you took them is not how we meant for you to take them. But if you don't have that open line of conversation, or open line of communication rather, then you end up quitting and leaving and you're salty now. And so it doesn't hurt us. You're literally screwing up your own channel of income. Like, you're screwing up the door that you opened for your own family to make money, because one person said something that you took in a way that maybe is not how it was meant to be taken, something like that. But instead of talking to them, you ran. So I would just encourage everyone, stay plugged in. That way, when an issue comes up, the communication is already there and you feel like you can talk to us about it. Because again, it's going to happen. We're all human. I mean, there's been times I'm sure I have said something that Savannah could have taken the wrong way, but because she's on every Zoom with me and we're always talking, like, she knew better. She knew that I didn't mean it the way that I said it. The same with Alicia. Like, I'm sure there's something that I've said that Alicia's been like, if someone else would have said that, she would have been mad. But because it was coming from me, I had the benefit of the doubt because the relationship was there. So it's on us to build a relationship, but it's on you to build a relationship as well. So for me, that's why we do those work Zooms all the time. Like, we don't train on them. They're literally to get on to work together. So all it is to build relationships with you guys, because we do value you as people and you're not just numbers. I don't know. Chelsea does it. Mandy does it. Like, we spend a lot of time on Zooms with you guys because we enjoy it and we like getting to know you. Speaking of people though, before I actually start, if y'all could keep Tina and her husband in your prayers. He's in the hospital again, Tina Anderson. She put a little on Facebook, so I don't want to go super into it, but he has some kidney issues. So, and it's pretty serious right now. There's some like issues with fluid. I don't know a lot about it, but so you just keep her in your prayers. And then we had two people that had really big life happen. So if y'all can drop some hearts for Savannah, because she bought a house this week. Savannah Huon. And then for Amanda Bailey, because she had, not this week, but she just had a baby. So that's, again, like, huge fun life happening. So definitely drop them some hearts. And I don't think Amanda's on here. She asked me about the Zoom, but she usually catches the replays, especially with a new little baby that she's getting used to. She's a first-time mom. So y'all that have kids, you remember what it was like being the first-time mom, and like, everything is chaotic. So most things do not go like you planned them. Okay, so when it comes to journaling, because this is supposed to be a journaling and, personal development Zoom, journaling, I'm going to talk a little bit more on the goal setting Zoom that we're going to do at the end of the month, because for me, journaling and goal setting kind of go hand in hand. So I don't want to pull it all out and then like redo it in a couple of weeks. So the actual journaling I'm talking more about, but I will tell you, if you're brand new and you like brand new to journaling, I would highly recommend Denise Walsh's Dream Life Journal, because it's a guided journal. This is what I started when I first started doing journaling, and I put the links in the chat for you guys already. So if you want to save those, they go directly to Amazon. So they're just the regular Amazon links. Highly would recommend though. It just makes journaling easy. Again, I don't use it right now. I just do regular journaling, but I've also been journaling for several years. So when I first started, that made it so easy. There's prompts every single day. So there's not any guesswork of like, oh, I'm going to sit down and journal. Like, what am I supposed to write? Like, because that's how I was in the beginning. I didn't know what the heck journaling was. And then also get your kids into journaling. It's all about gratitude. Again, I dropped the links for the kid ones too. And then Denise has one for teenagers. So if you teenagers, get them into it. But I noticed such a huge difference with Glory's attitude when we really started taking gratitude journaling seriously. And how many of you guys, drop me a 2 in the comments if you did not know how to journal and like gratitude was not your default setting, because that was me. How much better off in life would you be if your parents had taught you how to journal when you were a kid? Like, I'm just saying. So if you think that, and then you're not teaching your kids how to journal, do you see like the hypocrisy there? Because we would have loved it, but we sure aren't teaching our kids how to do it. Julie, yeah, I know your kids journal because I remember being on a Zoom or a phone or something and you were talking about them journaling. So yeah, get your kids to journal. And they, guys, my daughter started with, it's called a 3-minute gratitude journal. And I kept it because like, I like to look through it. And I thought it was cute because she was like 3 when we started this. Couldn't even write yet. She could just like trace letters basically. But it literally took about 3 minutes in the mornings. Well, so I'm not saying like teach them how to sit down and journal for 90 minutes like they're kids. They probably can't sit in front of a TV quietly for 30 minutes, let alone journaling. But they can work up to it. Like my daughter's pretty good about 15 to 20 minute journaling now. And then obviously we work up on that. But so as far as journaling, that's about as much as I'm going to talk to on that because I am going to go a lot more in depth with it. But personal development, I wanted to go into, and then I wanted to give y'all just a few tips on how to maximize your conference experience while you're at home with your rugrats running around, because it's easier said than done. And if you don't have kids, some of the tips might benefit you, some may not, but I want to specifically talk to those of us with kids because I know it is hard to like mentally be present when you've got all the other things going on. But as far as personal development, first tip I want to give you, and I've got 3 of them, is do it before you sit down to work. Everyone says it, like don't wake up and go straight on your phone. I'm not saying you never can wake up and check your messages. Like I get it, there's exceptions, but it should not be a daily habit where you're sitting down and you're working before you're pouring into your mind. And I had gotten into this habit. What's that, babe? Yes, you can have your frozen candy. She got candy from church yesterday. She wasn't allowed to eat it because she'd already had a sweet treat for the day. So now she wants her sweet treat. Like a little, those eggs that have like surprises in them. She spent one of her coins to get one of those stupid eggs yesterday. So anyways, yeah. So before you work, do mindset. Something that I had fallen into the trap was getting up and I would get my work done. And I was doing journaling at the end of the night because I like to go outside, sit when like the sun was going down, and it was just so peaceful and so relaxing. And I still do that. However, something Amber Parker said that kind of made me rethink that decision was sitting down. And for me, it's praying, like, and I'm really like asking God into my business as I'm writing my goals. So praying, manifesting, whatever you want to call it. But then once you go into your messaging, and I only do this for like 20 minutes. So I still do my main journaling and stuff at night, like the real relaxing side of it. But the goal setting and just like sitting down and really being intentional with my mindset, I've been doing before I work. Because then when I go into work, I'm already expecting the yeses. I'm expecting the enrollments versus going straight into work and then kind of like trying to hurry and get through it to like go on to the rest of the day. Yeah, getting back in the habit. And for me, it was a habit because I don't know. I don't even know why I switched. But I definitely noticed a difference when I do it before I start working. The second thing is staying plugged in, which we already talked about. So I'm not really going to elaborate on that anymore, but stay plugged in and make friends with your teams, guys. There are going to be days you don't want to show up to your business, but you want to talk to so-and-so. So you're still going to hop on the Zoom and get the good things. I remember 2 years ago conference. So Janice and Savannah, Julie and Tina, and myself all went from our team. Now Julie and Tina, I was excited to meet, but like, I wasn't super excited. Like, oh yeah, I want to hang out with them. Like, I can't wait because I didn't know them. Janice and Savannah, we'd already hung out. We were in Zooms all the time. We were excited to like get together and hang out and have fun. How much more fun is work when you actually know the person and you're excited to get out and hang out and have fun? I always want to sleep. but I go to talk to Savannah. That's funny. So make friends with people, because then on the days you don't want to show up, you still have that personal connection and you still will show up. And that'll just motivate you to actually work once you get there. And then the third one is make sure you're feeding your mind with good things. Y'all know I talk a lot about not binging TV all the time. Everyone is different. For me, a lot of the work that I do now, I'm sitting at my desk or at the kitchen table or outside at the table, but I'm like sitting, and I usually will have some kind of something going on in the background on my iPad, because that's how I focus the most. So it's very easy to get sucked into that something being a television show. Most television shows that I enjoy have some element of drama to them. And usually underlying the drama is something negative. Like one of the shows that I got real addicted to is Desperate Housewives. I don't know if y'all ever heard of that or seen it. Guys, all of it's like family issues of people cheating on each other and like kids like sneaking out of the house. And it's funny to watch, but is it underlying negative or underlying positive? And again, I'm not hating on not watching it. I'm saying it shouldn't be what's consuming your mind. Drop me a 3 if you automatically, like you hear something new. Like for example, when the new Fast Starts came out, my mind automatically went to the negative. I was like, ooh, they're doing something behind the scenes, because they're doing this in front of us and something behind the scene, like they're not telling us. Last time they changed the comp plan, conference 2018, I think, maybe 19, I don't know. The one my husband was with me, one of the ones my husband came, immediately I was like, I got to look at this. Like, I don't even know if I trust these numbers, because I'm negative. Like I'm automatically wired to be negative. And I think a lot of us are. So I have to keep feeding the positive into my brain to make those instances less. Now, the conference one, I wasn't near as strong of a mindset. It took me a while to get on board with that. The Fast Start one, it took me all of 15 minutes. And remembering they've changed a lot of things since I've been in 6 years. Not one time has it not been to our benefit. So I have to fuel myself with logic sometimes too, of like, look at all the pattern in the past. It's always been a good change. Clearly, they're not changing anything for the bad. So the stronger mindset you have, the quicker you can turn yourself from negative to positive in any situation. I don't remember which one of y'all said it, but the key to keeping it going with this business when life hits, because life is going to hit all of us, is your mindset. If you're doing mindset training every single day, no matter what crap hits the fan, you're still going to find the positive, even if it's through a bucket of tears. Again, I have been there. I think we have all been there. It's not fun. I can tell you, I won't tell the story because it's not mine to tell, but I remember Savannah, like 6 months into the business, had a lot of life happen. And I got off the phone with her and I told Brett, I was like, she's going to quit. It's like, there's no way she's going to make it through this and still be in the business. It's been 6 years and she's still in the business. Because she was already working on mindset. She's only 6 months into it. She had a stronger mindset back then than I did. Like 1,000%. Something that I do is I make a list, and I would encourage every single one of y'all to do this, of things that you want to, like things that you're passionate about, things that you're interested in. If you have a lot of time on your hands to be able to like watch something or listen to something, because inevitably, if you don't have a plan, you're probably going to gravitate to whatever TV show interests you for that week. And it's easy because I have been there. At the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I've like almost watched the entire season today. Probably not a good thing. And I think most of us have been there where you're watching and you're like, how am I already on episode 10? Like, where did all the time go? So what I have on my list is It Works trainings. And these are any like podcast or YouTube, it doesn't matter. Just, I have the topics down on the list. It Works training, Instagram growth. I really like learning about Instagram. Crime shows. Yeah, girl, that's one that can suck you in too. Homeschooling, teaching, sermons, healthy eating. So I'm really focusing on that. Speaking of, we're talking about growing. So if you haven't seen it, when we're done here, go pop onto my page. I was feeling like for the last year, I've been really working hard to take my supplements every day, focus on, the stuff that I can control. I've got PCOS. It's really hard to lose weight. It's not impossible, but I really have to like work at it. And I was like, man, I've only lost like 30 pounds this year. And I feel like that's not much of a difference. until I had a video pop up from last year. And I was like, oh, baby Jesus, I definitely have lost a little bit of weight. Like, you don't know it until you compare it. So whatever area you're growing in, and so I put that on my Facebook is what I was saying, but whatever area you're growing in, don't get hard on yourself, but compare yourself to where you were a year ago. So that's mindset. Find some tangible way to compare yourself to a year ago. And that's one reason I do love journaling. I can look back at my journal from a year ago and the tone is so different. So I don't throw my journals away, because if I feel like I'm having a crappy day or like I'm just not doing great in the business, I compare my numbers from last year. I compare my journal entries from last year. Like, I do compare. I don't compare with other people. I compare with myself, because that's what matters. So all that to say, healthy eating. Leadership is one I'm really working on. That's an area I feel like I can always grow in. Being a mom, so just like parenting books. So make a list of things that you're passionate about and it work stuff. Like, don't make it all about work. You guys know my motto with this business. This business doesn't consume my life. It just pays for it. So what fun is it if I can't read anything that I'm passionate about, or listen to a podcast about a subject that I'm passionate about, or, you know, watch a YouTube video while I'm working about something that I am passionate about. It doesn't have to all be it works, but you want it to all be pretty positive. And then what I do is basically, once I have listened to 3 or 4 of those things, then I can let myself watch a TV show while I'm messaging or returning messages or whatever I'm doing. Then another 3 or 4 things, and then I can watch a TV show. So I'm not saying don't watch TV or don't listen to a true crime podcast. I like those. They're not positive, but I do like listening to them. So whatever you like listening to, I'm not saying you can't ever listen to it. I'm saying make sure the good outweighs the bad. Does that make sense? So just have that balance, but like tip the scales in your favor, because like Chelsea said, whatever you put in is what's going to come out. So you might be having a great day. You're binging, 17 episodes of whatever true crime podcast that you listen to. And then something bad happens and you're already in a negative frame of mind, because that's what you've been feeding yourself all day without even realizing it. So, let's see. Oh, and with the leadership, if you have an area that you're struggling in, listen to more of that kind of stuff. Leadership was that for me. If you're really focusing on Instagram and like you're trying to really grow your Instagram, go to YouTube. There's so many good channels of just Instagram growth. Make that be something that is in the forefront of your mind. If you're struggling with signing distributors and signing customers, make It Works trainings be the forefront of your mind. Like, you get to pick, and that's the cool thing. So the 2 books that I'm reading right now are the one that we already talked about, the 5 Levels of Leadership. And I will tell you, that book will really make you examine yourself. It's probably the best leadership book I think I've ever read. And then this is one that I've been reading. It's called Present Over Perfect, and it's not a business book. It literally is, because I'm a type A personality, I will just work around the clock and burn myself out. And it's just literally talking about like slowing down and enjoying life, the life that you're working for, which some of y'all don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. Like, I have to remind myself to do that. So that's pretty much all I have for personal development. I do want to give a couple tips on conference. Do any of you guys have anything to add to personal development or journaling before I end out with conference tips? April Jennings recommends 5 layers. Okay, cool. I didn't know that she had read it. I'm sure I probably did. Like, I'm sure she's probably said it. I just didn't catch it. So with conference, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. So I was really struggling with leadership about a year and a half into my business. And I felt like there was a lot of people who were coming in and quitting and coming in and quitting and coming in and quitting. And it was a nonstop trend. And I was like, why isn't anybody quitting? And this is when I really started realizing that I have layers to me, and that it's not just layers in my self-worth and my confidence, or not just layers in my money mindset, but there's also layers of how I treat other people and how I talk to other people and how I train other people. So if you're feeling like your team is just quitting, I'm not saying look at yourself and like blame yourself, but I am saying that you need to grow too, because the more you grow, the more you're going to find people who are on that next level, just like I was saying before. Yeah.
Well, and I don't think people realize how hard it is to lead people, because we're not paying them. Like, that's It Works job. We're the ones in charge of like training and motivating. And that's like, you can't motivate someone. That's not an action. It's like if you're inspiring them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be somebody that is really good at leading yourself and like inspiring them to do better. Because there's very little incentives, like tangible incentives that we, pass down. What's up, kiddo?
After Daddy does the story, can I watch it until it's done like last time?
No, hop in bed after Dad reads your devotions. Good try though. Okay. So after Dad does my devotions with me, can I watch? No, it's 8:00 at night. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. So speaking of the munchkin, so I just got 6 quick tips to do with conference. Those of y'all that were at my house last year for conference, you already know, like my kid was very involved in it because you're there. Like, I will say, and I think everyone on here, everyone watching already knows my stance. I'm not a fan of ditching your kids for work because I feel like the whole point of this is it's very flexible. You get to work around your family, but conference is not flexible. So if you have that option and you know that you have trouble focusing when your kids are around, let them spend a couple days at grandma's. Or, I don't have any family at all around us. We are hours away from any family. So we don't have that option. But I would not be against that for something like this because it's not flexible. It's not like you can't just pause it and then pick it up. You're not creating the schedule around your life. It's at a set time. You watch it or you don't. So I will say that I think is definitely a feasible option if it's an option for you. But if it's not, or you choose not to, because, depending on she screamed. I forget my husband's out there. I'm like, if you don't want to do that, or you can't do that, some of the things that I did last year that worked really well, and something that I'm like, she's excited about conference this year. Not because of what they're going to say, but she knows she's going to have some fun crafts and some fun food. That's what she's excited about. And we don't have anyone coming over this year because my husband's traveling. He's literally coming back the night of conference. We have a teen activity that weekend. So I'm not even going to be here for all of conference, which I'm a little irritated about. But again, that's part of my job outside of It Works is ministry. So first tip is don't make it an all or nothing. We aren't traveling to Florida to go to this conference. If you cannot catch every single session because life happens, don't throw in the towel and just not go to any of them. So if you're doing strong and you watch several and then something happens with one of your kids and you have to miss a session, don't be like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to, go eat some popcorn and watch Desperate Housewives the rest of the day. Like, hop back on and just jump in where you can. Getting some of it is better than not getting any of it. So give yourself that flexibility of like, life's going to happen. If something happens and you don't catch every single session, fill in, like talk to other people, but get on to what you can. And then the second one is challenge yourself to take what you learn at conference, hop in the team page, whoever your leader is, their team page, and teach 1 or 2 tips from there because teachers are the best learners. Because to turn around and teach something, you really have to understand it. And if someone who, like, I went to college to be a teacher, I remember things I was like, oh, that's going to be so easy. And then when you have to teach it, you're like, crap, I really didn't understand this as much as I thought I did. Because to teach it and to get someone else to grasp it, you really have to understand what you're talking about. So make it a challenge. 1, 2, 3 things from conference that you're going to take and turn around and teach to the team. 1, you're going to help yourself pay more attention. And 2, you're going to help the people who didn't go to conference for whatever reason to still get some of those tips. And those are really the challenges of or the tips of, just you and kind of mentally. And then the other ones are actually like practical ones. Number 3 is your meals. Julie, not on Zoom, in the actual team page. So the VIP training page is ours. Whatever Chelsea and Mandy, like whatever your pages for your team, literally just go live and teach a few of the tips that you learned from conference. You can get with one of us and have a designated time. You can just pop on and do it so people can watch the replay. If like all eyes on you makes you nervous, you can do it however you want. It's just getting in the mentality of like, I'm going to have to teach this, so I actually have to pay attention. Because it's easy to sit and go to conference and get hardly anything out of it because you were like space case the whole time. Yeah, I know you have a team page. I'm just saying I don't know what the name of it was. So the people on Chelsea's team that are listening, y'all know the name of her team page, whatever the team page name is. 3 is meals. So conference is a Friday and a Saturday. Insta handle. Never mind. Conference is a Friday and a Saturday. So Thursday night, get all your meals for the entire weekend. I'd probably go through Sunday. Have the conversation with your husband if you have one, or your spouse or boyfriend or whoever is sharing your house with you, and let them know, like, hey, this is really important to me. I'm not going to be up making lunch and dinner and all this stuff, but I have all this food prepped or bought. Maybe you're doing freezer meals. Again, give yourself permission to make it easy, because Friday and Saturday, you're not going to be wanting to try to use the little breaks that you have to get up and cook. If you have kids, let them have some fun food. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, drop your Insta handles. Mine's Helping Hearts Homeschooler. It's easy, so I don't really ever drop it. I just tell you guys. But yeah, tag us in some of the stuff tonight. My daughter's excited because she knows we're going to have juice boxes there. She knows that she gets to pick a couple snacks that we're going to have on hand. I do snack boards anyways, so I will make up a big snack board, like a charcuterie board is what it's called. Have some fruits and stuff on there to where your kids can kind of have a free for all, and they're not momming you 100 times for snacks while you're trying to sit there and focus. And then you can have it as an incentive too. Like we do Go-Gurts and stuff like that. Of like, if you're good for this session, you get to go pick something out of the snack box. So you can use food as an incentive only this time. I'm not a big fan of using food as an incentive, but special treats, special times, absolutely. Have different crafts on hand. We set up a big like table, I guess, like a folding table in our living room. And that's where I sit and watch conference, and my daughter gets to sit and do crafts beside me. Don't give them a giant box. You get one craft for this session, and then each session you get a new craft or a new dollar toy to play with, whatever, like something quiet that will keep them entertained. If you give them the whole box, you got 45 minutes and they're done and they're ready for something else. Don't give them a whole box at once. Do one thing at a time. Number 5 is, screen time. I can't even read my own writing. Again, use it as an incentive. Like, I'm not a huge fan of screen time with kids, but there are certain times when I definitely implemented outside of school conference and different like leadership stuff that I do, like for the Higdon group and stuff that I hop on. That's when I'm like, hey, when the time, and I set timers on my oven, you can do your phone or whatever. Because if you just say when this session is over, every 5 seconds, Mom, how much longer? Mom, is it going to be over? Mom, how many more minutes? So I say, hey, when the timer goes off, you get 30 minutes of TV time or screen time or whatever they're playing with. And then the last one is when the break, if you're going to be at home with your kids while this is happening, when the breaks happen, you're going to be tempted to get on your phone and work and ignore those kids. You've just ignored them the entire session. Use your break times to play a game with your kids, to cuddle with your kids, whatever they like doing. Preferably take their little butts outside and get some energy out, because then they're going to have to sit through another session. Or, you're going to tell them to go to their bedroom and be quiet, and you're going to expect them to be quiet. And if they got all the energy, they're not going to be quiet. So those are my tips. They're very, very simple, but they are things that I used last year. I was a little worried last year because the team came over and my kid was there. I was like, hopefully this is going to be like, they're going to get something out of it, and my kid's not going to cause them to never want to come to my house again for these things. And I think it worked well. We played games together. Like, she was involved in as much as she could be involved in. And I bribed the crap out of her. If my team got an incentive, guess what? My kid got to play bingo with us. So if you're doing something at your house with other people, let your kids get involved. If you are having fun food, let your kid pick some fun food out. So you won't use all the tips, probably use some of them, but just know, like, don't let your kids be the excuse why you don't get something out of conference. Instead, do a little bit of planning ahead of time and make it easy on yourself to allow yourself to like actually get something out of conference. Any questions, anything with that? We've gone over about 8 minutes, but only 8 minutes. And then we will all hop off. It'll be like a midnight start for us in Australia. Oh, I didn't I should have realized that. I wasn't thinking about that.
I think the first day starts at midnight. Well, I know that the conference earlier this year, the first day started at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the next day started at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So we were just sleeping at all kinds of times.
Dude, because I forget when we have conference, because I know when they do the I'm gonna unhit record because we're just talking now. But I know when you come